Hey, what's going on, guys? Ryan Sprague here from Somewhere in the Ring, and Andrew and I just wrapped an awesome episode of the podcast. We can't wait to share it with you soon, but before we do that, we need your help. We need your ratings and reviews, specifically on Apple Podcasts and on Spotify, the two largest platforms in the world to get podcasts. Now, we are a small independent podcast, and we are going up against some pretty big hitters in the wrestling world. So in order to get featured, in order for us to find new listeners and gain visibility, we need your help. And that starts with a rating and a review over on Apple Podcasts or on Spotify. It takes just a couple moments, but it means the world of difference to us. So from Andrew and I, thank you so much for your unwavering support. We can't wait to keep doing the show, and we hope you will consider a rating and review for us somewhere in the ring.
The following podcast is scheduled for one recording with no time limit. Making their way down to Somewhere in the Ring, Andrew Sanford and Ryan Sprague.
They've been taking ballet. They've been the only boys in the class, which has been not weird for us or them, but weird for other parents sometimes. I feel like people there's still the amount of unnecessarily gendered things that I have had to deal with as a father to two boys has driven me nuts. But all that aside, the boys are kind of a bad influence on each other in the class. In the sense that so they have to chasse, where they just kind of it's like a side skip across the room, right? And they'll be asked to do that, and then they'll just Isaiah usually will just step forward and then just start spinning around in a circle and spin until he gets to the other side. And then August will do that too. And last week they were influencing other children in the class to do the same.
Oh my gosh, man. Your sons are either going to be lead ballet dancers or cult leaders. I haven't decided.
Is it one or the other? Yeah, it's going to be one or the other. Yeah.
Little Billy Elliots, man. That's so awesome. Good for them.
Yeah.
Good for them.
Thanks. Yeah, it's exciting. And they're and the teachers are very good too. And they explain things in a way that they're making pizza, quote unquote, but they're doing ballet moves and all that stuff. It's a lot of fun. And it's good to see them get to use their bodies. And to be honest with you, there was a Taekwondo class that I would have signed them up for. But I called the place and they never got back to me. And I was trying to get information. I called twice and they was trying to get information. They just didn't get back to me. I was like, okay, ballet it is.
I think you made the right choice.
I think so too. Yeah. By the way, this is Somewhere in the Ring, a podcast where we talk about wrestling. Usually today we're talking a little bit about ballet. And we talk about WWE mostly. And today we're going to do kind of a fun, very WWE specific episode, though I do have a quick WCW anecdote, and I have a little AEW news that I want to talk about right at the top.
Let's do it.
Some rumors, but we're going to be talking about Hell in a Cell today. Arguably,
you smell that? Well, hold on, Andrew. Yeah, that's sulfur, baby. I can smell it. Yeah. I have been holding that in all day.
It's good. It's best to hold in your sulfur.
Hold that sulfur.
Yeah.
I'm talking about the devil, guys, not my flatulence. I apologize.
Hey, I'm over here drinking a probiotic soda right now, so we're trying.
Good for you.
Gut
healthy.
Yeah. I like a little. I part of making sure I don't get pre-diabetes, and we'll get into wrestling at some point, is to significantly cut back my sugar. And there was even some kombucha that I was drinking that had more sugar in it than I really needed. So it's just chipping away. Yeah, you really do. You gotta read those labels. But yeah, we're gonna talk about Hell in a Cell. We're gonna be talking about our top 5 Hell in a Cell matches, excluding one in particular because it kind of set a kind of standard, even though it wasn't the first one. And it's not gonna be in any particular order. We're not ranking things, just 5 Hell in a Cell matches that we think are pretty awesome. Right. And there's one that we're even not going to talk about because I've talked about it on the show before.
Would that be the Mick Foley Triple H?
Yeah, technically it's Cactus. I think
Cactus
it's
Jack.
Cactus. I think it's Cactus Jack and Triple H. But yes,
Yes.
yeah. No Way Out 2000. One of
Yep.
the best runs from that Royal Rumble. And I say best. It's also like, it was recreated on No Mercy. It was like it was we were so steeped in that era when it was happening, because that's effectively the year that they killed WCW. So like it
Right.
really started to like eat into them. So
Yeah.
but before all that, real quick, because we've talked about this on the show before,
Mhm.
new rumor. I'm Andrew, by the way. This is Ryan. I didn't say that part earlier. This is somewhere in the ring. But if you're watching, you can read our names. AEW is rumored to be airing their pay-per-views on Max starting in 2025. People think the deal is already in place. There might
Okay.
even be like some other stuff around it, but so in a year where WWE will be heading to Netflix for Raw, and then I think their Peacock deal is up in 2025. I would be very surprised if all of their stuff doesn't move over to Netflix.
Oh,
It almost feels
interesting.
like, yeah, it feels like it could be like a good pilot program. Like if Netflix is like, if they bring in consistent viewers on Netflix on Monday nights, then
Yeah.
they could easily just be like, okay, well, we'll take your
Here's
PLEs as
everything.
well. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah.
Wow.
And,
So
and
that
that
would technically include everything, right? Everything,
I would
pay-per-views,
assume so.
all
Yeah, I
WWE
believe their
properties.
Peacock deal is like donezo after
Okay.
2025. I could be wrong
Wow.
on that. I'm like 90% positive.
I
So they'll
wonder.
be
I do
done.
wonder
Hmm.
because USA is part of NBC Universal, which is part of Peacock. Like, I
Hmm.
wonder how that'll play into all this since they are still on
Prob-
USA.
Probably not well. And that USA contract is pretty new too. Like my guess,
Yeah.
I think it's just this. And look, they are already under contract with Netflix for like $10 billion, something like that, over 10 years. It's like
God.
some third like that. I'm gonna pull up I'm gonna pull up the number.
Yeah. Be my
Just
guest.
so WWE Netflix deal. I'm saying what I'm typing out loud. Um, but it's an absurd contract.
Oh, I'm
That
sure.
is, yeah. New home of Raw. Where's the money? Where's the money? Show me the money. I
Show
can't
us the
see it. I'm gonna keep
money.
looking.
You
But
keep
I
looking.
don't see 500 million per year. So over 10 years, so about $5 billion.
Yep.
So that's a lot of money.
It's a lot of money.
But that being said, that's a lot of money for, I believe there are like some other productions that are going to be wrapped into there. They're going to move. Um, I think they're going to produce other things with Netflix, but that's just for Raw. WWE isn't then going to go, okay, you can also have our stuff that we have on Peacock without some extra money thrown in there.
Okay.
Netflix, and I believe there's actually a clause in this contract that allows Netflix to kill the deal at a certain point.
Ooh.
Yes. So at the end of the day, Peacock could very easily come in and be like, here's everything we have because we
Right.
need you. And because we only have the Olympics every 4 years. And WWE going over there was huge for them.
Right.
So it's not a definite that if that contract could even run out, but it feels likely. We'll see. It could be very competitive, and which is
So
why I think it will end up. That's my long-winded way of saying I think AEW's move to Max is going to get overshadowed pretty significantly.
that's so sad because I was just listening to an interview with Tony Khan. First time
Hmm.
I've ever heard the man like talk
Oh,
at
really?
length. Yeah, I
Hmm.
mean, I've seen him a couple times on like whatever Dynamite or
Hmm.
when he comes out, but I've never really heard the guy talk wrestling. And I will say I was pretty impressed with his passion, his energy, his knowledge of the wrestling business. At least I would hope so, owning a wrestling company.
Sure.
But he did in that interview bring up like, we can't say anything for certain, but I can say our future with Max is looking extremely bright, and we're very happy to be working with them. So, you know what, man? I think it's great. As much as
Sure.
we may be critical of AEW at some points, like
And critical of both, to be fair.
of course, yeah, but just like WWE, like going on Max is going to open up AEW to an entirely new crowd, and
Yeah.
everyone wins. Everyone wins. So, um, I I hope this works. I hope it works. But I think you're right. I think everything is going to get overshadowed. And we also have to keep in mind that on the 25th, in 2 days, as we're recording this, the Vince McMahon series is coming out on Netflix. So that is going to be a big wrench in everything too.
I don't think so.
You don't think so?
I think it's gonna be clipped. Janelle Grant wasn't interviewed. I think they're gonna like bookend it with stuff about the lawsuit that's going on. But if anything, I think this could be kind of a weird. I think it's gonna be the documentary was being made before
it was
shit really hit the fan. And I'm sure they'll get into that a little bit. I'll be interested. You know, any good documentary is going to shift its narrative if stuff is happening while it's being made.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't be surprised if it came off a little bit more flattering than people are expecting.
Interesting. I'm on the other side of it, but we'll see.
I hope you're right. I hope you're right. Yeah. I really do. Because it's
not going to be good either way. Let's be completely honest.
Yeah, probably not. We'll see. We'll see. I love a good documentary, but I haven't watched them on Netflix.
The series might be good, but I mean,
sure.
Nobody comes out looking good in this. Like, let's be honest. No matter how much WWE might think this is damage control or maybe painting things in a different light, like those who know, which is the masses at this point, having read these papers of what McMahon is guilty of, or I should say accused of, excuse me.
We've seen the text messages.
We've seen them. Andrew has quit the show.
All right, I have to go plug my phone because I got to make sure I'm ready to take the boys to dance class later. But listen to me. I just have to say this because I have to be clear that we are critical of everybody on this show. Speaking of bad takes on Vince McMahon, Mick Foley, of all people, said that he was going to wait until he gets more information before he passes judgment on Vince McMahon, which is an insane take to have. That's an insane
very disappointed in that. Yeah.
Very disappointed. A huge bummer. That this is the first time I've talked about it. I didn't even text you about it because I was like, I'm gonna wait and talk about it for the first time on the show.
I was wondering if you had seen that. That's so sad.
It was awful. It was heartbreaking. It's just like, dude, read.
Yeah,
you can read the text messages. You can, even if you don't, if you want to take what she's saying with a grain of salt, fine. Even though it is so powerful and they have so much behind them that a lawsuit was approved and it is now, and New York State has asked them to put a pause on it so they can jump in there because it's bad on a federal level. You can read the old man's text messages. You can read what he said about her and to her. It is awful. That is not the way you speak to somebody. That's how you speak to somebody you're abusing. End of story.
Yeah.
So that was a real bummer. That was a real bummer. So much so that I made Mankind lose the hardcore title on my WWE Universe in my video game. That's how I do it because I don't know him personally. That's the best that's the only recourse I have.
Digital voodoo is how Andrew deals with Eddie.
I like it. It really just a real bummer. A real bummer.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well. Yeah,
we'll
see what happens.
That's not a bummer. Yeah,
Let's talk about hell.
There it is. There it is,
buddy. Well, okay. So Hell in a Cell. This is talk about like settling things. This is a way.
Yes. What is a Hell in a Cell match?
What is a Hell in a Cell match? Well, Webster's Dictionary would define basically when things come to a head. Whether it's, let's take prime example. The reason we're doing this episode is because of the CM Punk and Drew McIntyre rivalry that has hit its peak. And what do? You put two wrestlers in the biggest cell that the WWE has ever constructed, literally sometimes painted red. I don't know if they do that anymore.
I hated that so much. I hope
it was
they
bad.
Don't. That's like the standard setting in the video game, and I can't stand it. It is rough on the eyes.
Don't like it.
No,
looks
bad.
Too cartoonish. But in a cell, and basically, like this is anything goes in these matches. It can be a pinfall, it can be a tap out, it can be a knockout, it can be leaving the cage itself. Am I correct in that?
No.
Okay.
That's what's But what's kind of in fact, what's kind of funny is I would almost want to go through and look at what Hell in a Cell matches haven't left the cell. Because I feel like almost I remember, and I was going to bring this one up anyway, there is a Hell in a Cell match between Undertaker and Brock Lesnar that I remember being incredibly underwhelming. And it's like at a Judgment Day in the early 2000s or something. And they never leave. I don't even think they leave the ring. I think a table gets brought out at one point and somebody gets put through a table. But if I remember correctly, I would almost want to look it up. I think the top of the cell, because it's basically a steel cage match, except the cage is extended to the audience, and there is a top. There's a ceiling. And I remember the ceiling being so low in the Lesnar and Undertaker match that at one point somebody jumped up, grabbed onto it, and hung from it. And like wrap their legs around. I think I'm not making this up. I didn't.
You aren't. I did watch. We do research, so I looked up all Hell in a Cell matches, and that was one of them. But look, like nobody was bringing it up in any website I went on in the history of Hell in a Cell, so it clearly was an underwhelming match.
No, and one, but yeah, it's like you were saying. It's like when things come to a head, they kind of. There've been like a few times where it's been just kind of like fun. I remember there's like a Monday Night Raw where it's like a tag match, and it's like a it's like before the 98 Hell in a Cell. I think there's another time where like right before the 98 Hell in a Cell, Stone Cold is fighting Kane on Raw because they're about to fight, and then like the cell gets lowered and Undertaker gets in there, and then also Mankind. It's just they've used it quite a bit, and I'm glad it is not something that I think should have its own pay-per-view, for instance.
No.
Like I don't think there should be more than one Hell in a Cell match in one night. Which there has been. I've been to a Hell in a Cell pay-per-view and there were 2 in one night and it was diminishing
Which
returns.
one was that? Let's run through that one.
It was 2009.
Quickly.
It would have been 2009 and I can let me pull up the card right now, but I just remember the match that I remember the most was Legacy, which at the time was Cody Rhodes and Ted DiBiase against DX, which was Shawn Michaels and oh man, that's insane. And Triple H. So the first match of the night, which I don't remember at all. Oh, I do remember a little bit, but it was Cena and Orton. I remember because there was a kid in the crowd who, by the end of it, he was wearing a Cena shirt and he ripped it off and went like this. And did the Randy Orton pose at the end because he was over John Cena. Yes, yeah. But
the tables turned that night.
So it started with a Hell in a Cell match, and then it ended with a Hell in a Cell tag team match, which was Legacy against Shawn Michaels. And now 3 of those men are flourishing in the WWE, and one of them is in an actual cell. So things kind of art imitates life, life imitates art, etc.
It always does with wrestling.
Yeah.
Wow. Where was that?
Would have been Jersey, I think.
In Jersey, okay, gotcha.
That would be my guess. I was a guest of Ringside Wrestling or Ringside Collectibles. Yeah, I was at the Prudential Center in Newark, New Jersey, where I will be next week, a week from today, to see a Rangers preseason hockey game.
Oh, sweet, man! You're going to start having some Hell in a Cell PTSD moments.
I'm very excited. Also, Joy and I decided today that we're going to take the boys to see Weird Al for the first concert next year. I put myself up for pre-sale tickets for tomorrow, and I almost started crying. But enough about that. Hell in a Cell. So one match we are not going to talk about, is the 1998 Hell in a Cell,
the gold standard, Mankind, as it were.
Been talked about to death. I don't know if we've talked about it on this show.
I don't think we have.
But that would be one where I would truly want to wait and pick someone who has just never watched a wrestling match in their entire life and make them watch that. You know what I mean? Like that I would want for a special occasion. So we're not going to talk about that one. But do you want to list off the ones that we are going to talk about in no particular order?
Sure. So we decided on these together. These were kind of our collective, not top 5, but 5 Hell in a Cell matches. Like we said, we're not going in any
very
order.
Memorable ones.
Exactly. So I guess one of the most current ones would have been Cody Rhodes versus Seth Rollins, Hell in a Cell 2022.
Awesome.
We're also going to be talking about Bad Blood 1997, which was the first ever Hell in a Cell match, Undertaker versus Shawn Michaels.
Oh, I forgot that was at a Bad Blood. That's fun.
Yeah, which is, again, coming back.
Yeah.
we've got Armageddon 2000, which was a 6-man Hell in a Cell match. We'll get to who those were when we get to that match.
That's one of I honestly kind of forgot about that one, and that one might be one of my favorites. Like I kind of
Right.
forgot until I was texting you, and I was
It
like, "Oh
was
wait."
chaos, man. Chaos.
Mhm.
We've got Becky Lynch versus Sasha Banks at Clash at the Champions 2019, which was a
Mhm.
great match. I watched it right before we got on here. And then the last one we'll be talking about is Batista versus Triple H at Vengeance 2005, which I have. Batista was the entire time I didn't watch wrestling.
Oh,
Holy
interesting.
crap, man. Like,
He's something
what a
else.
guy.
He's something
What a
else. Yeah,
guy.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Oh
yeah,
man. I could
yeah.
see why he's so successful now
Mhm.
outside of the ring as well.
Yeah, yeah,
Uh
yeah.
so yeah,
So
we're
which one do you want to dig into first?
let's go, sort of from the most modern, which would have been 2022. Cody Rhodes versus Seth Rollins. As many know, these two had a big
Mhm.
rivalry at the time. And
Mhm.
this would be the, I guess, sort of infamous match where Cody would get the huge bruise on him, right?
Yeah, and I think he had it ahead of time. He tore his pec at like a house show or something
Yeah.
like that.
Yep.
It might not even have been a house show, but he tore his pec and then he gets in there and it's just his entire, I think, right breast is just red, like into his arm, like red
Ugh.
and bruised. And it is like it was one of, I feel like you could feel the tide start to turn a little bit in WWE's favor when that happened. There was
Mhm.
something about that moment, even if you could like argue that it might have been unsafe or unnecessary. But he probably obviously wouldn't have done it if he wasn't cleared and yada yada. But there was something about the passion that Cody Rhodes was bringing to WWE anyway. Like I
Mhm.
feel like there was a time where WWE superstars became kind of like stagnant. Like everybody's just kind of going through the motions. And I truly believe, and look, of course, that's not everybody, but part of that is the writing. Part of it is like the stuff that they're going through, not be able to take time with their families, all this kind of stuff. It affects the product. And I feel like Cody Rhodes was an injection of passion into the WWE. And I think this is part of it. I think it is, there is something about him and his earnestness that has kind of infected the rest of the roster in a really positive way. And like we see
Mm.
that not just in their attitudes towards wrestling or their characters, but like in certain storylines and the certain way people are getting presented and presenting themselves in the McIntyre and CM Punk feud. You see like this kind of earnestness to it, even if there is just, if they're, being awful to each other. There's an earnestness when it comes to somebody like an LA Knight and his storyline. There's something about Roman Reigns. Like there is just, I don't know. It felt like a wall was broken down when he showed up. And I truly think that this was part of it. This
I
pay-per-view, this match.
I could not agree more, man. This was really, I think, the breakthrough moment for me personally when I
Mm-hmm.
saw Cody Rhodes on the ascension
Sure.
towards greatness in the company and becoming the example. Um, I was, this was he had not just come back to WWE.
Yeah.
He'd been back for a while. However, like people were really unsure. Like, is this the guy? Is this the guy they're gonna put the, strap the
Mm-hmm.
meteor onto his back? And working through the obvious pain that he was in this match and seeing like as the match was going, seeing this huge bruise forming on his body, clearly
Mm-hmm.
something was very wrong. Yet
Sure.
he worked through it. Seth could not have been a better partner in this match of taking care of him while also making the
Love that
match
Seth
look
Rollins.
insanely brutal.
Mm-hmm.
This was Seth and Cody at their absolute finest, which we would again see later as Cody at worked with Seth at WrestleMania 40. So
Mm-hmm.
this was really the start for me with these two and
Mm-hmm.
their enemies become friends, friends become enemies, enemies become friends
Yeah, I
again
think
through this
Rollins
story.
was his first match back, right? When he showed up at WrestleMania, I think
Yeah,
Rollins was the first one he wrestled because it was
he
like Rollins
was.
had like an open challenge kind of thing going.
Yep.
Yep.
And this
Yeah.
just was just such an amazing. match. I mean, it wasn't bloody by any stretch of the imagination, which a lot of Hell in Cells can be, which we will get to.
Mhm.
But this was just a spot on match. And unfortunately, I believe the cage was red for this one, if I'm remembering correctly. So that was the only thing that kind of detracted from it for me. It just reminds me of plastic, man. It
It's
just looks
just
like a
hard on the
plastic
eyes.
ring.
It's hard to look at. You're watching like a red screen. Like
It's
we
too
don't need to
much.
get into it. It's a
Too much.
bad idea. Bad idea.
It's a bad idea. But it was a wonderful, wonderful match, and I couldn't think of a better one to sort of start with here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How
We
about
should mention
next?
who won that one.
Oh yeah, who won it? I think it was Cody, right? Didn't
It
Cody
had
win?
to be Cody, right?
No.
Work around, phenomenal. Rollins should have come in. Yep. Cody won this one.
Cody.
Yep.
Let's do 97 Bad Blood. Let's do that
Rewind to
first one.
97.
The
Yeah.
first Hell in a Cell match ever.
Yep.
Ever.
This
It's Shawn Michaels and the Undertaker.
And we should mention Hell in a Cell was created by Bruce Pritchard. Actually,
Oh really?
that was
There
his
we go.
baby.
Yeah,
That was his
sure.
idea. So
Yeah.
we have
It's
him
no,
to
it's
thank
no
for that.
triple. It's no triple cage, but it's fine.
That's true.
That's
That is.
I know it's funny. I think when I come back to Hell in a Cell is probably the best. Triple Cage was too dangerous. I do have a soft spot for the Elimination Chamber though. I really like Elimination Chamber matches.
It's cool. I like it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, so 97 Bad Blood, Taker against Shawn Michaels, first Hell in a Cell, introduction of Kane, I believe it happens in this match
at the end. Yeah.
And we also see Michaels go off the side of the cell. So he doesn't go all the way up, but he goes off the side and through an announce table in a bit of foreshadowing for the class. If I remember correctly, and not even foreshadowing, if I remember correctly, Mick Foley was driving with Terry Funk. They were driving to the King of the Ring paper, like doing their trip to get there. And they were trying to figure out what to do to top the last Hell in a Cell match. And Terry Funk just said, well, you got to go off the top of that thing. Like, you just got to go off it. And they did not tell the Undertaker. And then they got up there and he was like, throw me. And he's like, what?
And
then I said, we're not going to talk about that.
I know. It's hard not to, man. It's so
yeah. Of course it is.
Yeah.
But yeah, Taker against Shawn Michaels, two guys. Probably, I wouldn't necessarily say they're prime. I would. Well, it's not their prime though. It's tough because you think that I don't know what 13 years later these guys would have two WrestleMania matches in a row that are like two of the best matches of their career.
Yeah.
Just really incredible stuff.
It really shows that like it's not about age. Like you can still have the greatest matches of your career later in life. It really depends on the partner and the work you put into it, for sure.
Yeah. But yeah, this one just kind of set things off, and within a year, they're doing another Hell in a Cell at King of the Ring, and then I feel like it just became. I wonder if there was one in '99. I almost want to just like guess if they just took a year off, or if there was one in '99, and then in 2000 we get the No Way Out one.
Yeah, I'm not exactly sure.
And I don't want to be sure. I'm not here to be sure.
We're not here to be sure, guys.
I'm not here to be an expert on nothing. I'm here to guesstimate.
We are lovers.
Okay. We are lovers.
We are lovers. Wait, that could be clipped. We are not lovers.
And I want people to clip it. Me and Ryan Sprague are lovers.
We are lovers.
I love you,
buddy.
Love you too, pal.
Who won this one? I don't have that marked down.
Michaels.
You have?
Michaels did. Michaels absolutely did. And I believe part of that is the interference of Kane. It was at most a no contest, but I believe.
Okay. What a slap in the face. Not only does Undertaker lose, but then he finds out he has a brother that he thought was dead.
Oh, yeah. I was about to say. A brother that he set on fire mentally.
Mentally, guys. Mentally.
Revealed later. Yep. Yeah.
Lest we forget. Let's move to Armageddon, man. 2000. Now, this was one you recommended to me. I'd never seen this one before.
Oh, really? Oh,
never.
Cool. Yeah, it's 6 people. It's I want to guess off the top of my head. I got the outline this morning, but I looked at it briefly. Let me see if I can guess the entrance.
Okay, I got to hear.
Kurt Angle. I know he wins because Kurt Angle winning was like my older brother often says that Kurt Angle may be the best pro wrestler of all time, and I don't disagree with that.
I could see that.
I think his career was kind of cut short a little tragically. Kurt Angle is pretty incredible. So we got Kurt Angle.
Yep.
We got The Rock.
Mm-hmm.
We got The Undertaker.
Mm-hmm.
Got Rikishi.
Correct.
He's got Triple H.
Correct.
We've got the Big Show. No. Oh, is it Stone Cold?
It's Stone Cold. You were
It's
so
Stone
close.
Cold. Okay. See,
Yeah.
I was thinking there was a promo that The Rock. First of all, that's an insane 6-man match. That's crazy.
Unbelievable.
Unreal.
Well, Andrew, we should mention commissioner at the time was Mick Foley, so it gets even better.
Yep. Yeah. But I there was a promo The Rock did at one point where he's making fun of everybody that he's in the match with, and I could have swore he makes fun of Big Show at one point. Does and puts his hand up in the air. But that might have been a different thing. But he definitely makes fun of Rikishi because he goes, "I did it for The Rock. I did it for the people." I read a really a famed promo, if you will. But yeah, this match is insane, and there's a hay truck next to it, which I'm sure it's something to do
because
earlier
every Hell in a Cell match, actually no, every version of Hell I've ever heard of in the Bible and beyond has hay trucks. I mean, it's
true.
it's very accurate. So
mess with your
them.
allergies, man. Yeah. But the biggest spot of the night for this one is, and what I think is brilliant about this spot is, if you were to tell me, sit me down, I'm like, here are 6 people that are in this match. Who do you think is going to get thrown or pushed off the top of the cell? Rikishi would be my last guess.
Yeah, not the 400-pound person. Yeah,
yes,
who could literally
maybe
die.
Undertaker. I might guess after him, but like Ricky. But I've also seen Undertaker jump out of the ring and do all this crazy. It was more selective, but Undertaker was not above like big spots or big jumps and things like that.
Not at all.
But yeah, Rikishi gets pushed off the top of this thing and just falls, does a straight back fall, does not see where he is going, falls straight back onto this hay truck. And look, I think the cell is like 18, 20 feet tall, something like that.
Sounds right. Yeah.
The truck's probably like, I don't know, 4 feet off the ground. So he's maybe falling like 15 feet. That's still crazy. And just straight back. Yeah. It's just a straight back fall.
And I will say this, like watching it back, they cut to both, I think it was The Rock and Stone Cold, and the looks on their faces of shock. Like this was not planned. I mean, it was planned. The spot was planned, but the reactions by these other superstars clearly was not planned, because you could see all of them break character for 10 seconds to be like, I can't believe that just happened. Is he okay?
Wow.
Is he okay?
Cool.
It was awesome. It was amazing to see that.
Yeah.
But
and then Kurt Angle wins, gets that belt. And we move on. Like it's and did he go in with the belt, or was
he did?
He did? Okay,
cool. Did. He went in with the belt,
wild.
So he was defending.
Crazy.
There are a lot of good spots. Obviously, it was a very chaotic match. Looking back at it, at the time, McMahon didn't want this match to happen because he's like, these are all my top talent. I don't want them getting injured. So his big thing was he brought out all these cops and. Yeah. He brought these cops out and they tried to rip the door off.
Yeah. Okay, so it was a kayfabe. I thought that was a behind the scenes thing.
No. This is all real. It was really funny, and it only like ignited this feud between Mick Foley and Vince McMahon at the time. So it was great. I'm so happy you recommended this one, man, because I completely went over my head when it actually aired. So thank you to you and to WWE for Armageddon 2000.
Thank you, WWE.
Thank you, WWE.
What about the one that I unfortunately did not get a chance to watch ahead of time?
Yeah.
Is the Becky Lynch and Sasha Banks. And I say that because it's the one on the list, the only one I haven't seen before.
Yeah.
How was that?
So good. Again, like just two of the best at the time. Sasha Banks had just come back from a long break. I don't know if it was from an injury or what was going on, but she had a lot to prove, and who better to prove it to than the champion at the time, which was the man, Becky Lynch. And again, this was not the first women's Hell in a Cell match, but it was definitely I think the most memorable in terms of a match. It was violent, man. I have here all I wrote was tables, ladders and chairs. Oh my! Like this is one of those. Yeah, I felt like I was watching
Amazing.
the Dudley Boys and
Yeah.
the Hardy Boys and stuff like that. There was one point in the match where it resorted to Becky Lynch taking the chains off of the cell door, wrapping them around her fist, and just pummeling Sasha Banks.
Oh,
It was brutal. And I know we use
whoa.
that word a lot, but like this
Good
is a
word.
moment where I'm like, oh man, that looked really, really painful. And we
Wow.
should mention this was that Clash of the Champions in
Clash of Champions. Yeah.
2019. So we're still kind of in
Crazy.
that weird PG era, I want to say. So
Yeah.
there
And
was
I
no
like.
blood in the match, but
Mm-hmm.
you sure
Interesting.
felt like there was with
Sure.
how
Yeah.
they reacted. What else do I have here? Oh God, there was a point where Becky Lynch, she propped a chair onto the side of the cell, like within the
Mm-hmm.
cell, like
Cool.
in midair, put Sasha Banks in the chair. So she's like sitting in the chair, dangling from the cage, and then drop kicks her onto the ground. Dude, you gotta watch. If anything,
Ooh.
just watch
I
that
will.
spot.
Yeah.
I
No,
was,
I'll probably watch the match.
man.
The only one I got to, what did I look at? Oh no, I ended up looking at the because we talked about these because we're always going off of memory for a lot of stuff, and then you
Oh
do
yeah,
more research than I do.
fair.
But I was looking. The one that I looked up was Undertaker fighting Big Boss Man, and then lynching him afterwards from a cell, which
We
is an
debated putting that
insane.
on the list,
Yeah. I'm
but
glad we
we
didn't. I'm
we
glad we didn't.
excluded that.
But
Yeah,
it's So don't look up that one. But I looked at.
don't
I
do
was
it.
like, did that happen or did I imagine that? And I didn't. It happened, and it's weird. This sounds much better. So I'm definitely gonna watch this one. Probably this one and the Armageddon one. But
Yeah.
the other one I do remember from the time, Triple H and Batista. And so you rewatched this one before we sat down. You said,
Yes. Yeah.
or one of the yeah.
So I watched a lot of them for the first time ever. Like
Nice.
again, we tend to forget about a lot of these things until
Sure.
it comes up and we decide to
And I
do a
remember
Hell in a Cell
the
episode.
Armageddon one was huge when it
Yeah,
happened. Like that was a huge deal.
it was a big deal.
Mhm.
So Batista versus Triple H, Vengeance 2005. So early
Vengeance.
2000s. I was not
Mhm.
watching the product at the
Mhm.
time. I don't know what
This
I
is
was
like
doing.
right after Evolution, I guess, like within a year or two after.
Yep.
Or
I
yeah,
was
yeah,
a
yeah.
junior in college, so that brings you back,
Nice.
Andrew. Yeah. Uh,
Yeah.
I was knee deep in drama classes and playwriting, I think,
Ayo.
at this time. Um,
And I
the
was in high
two,
school not doing homework. Sorry, keep going.
you're making me feel old.
Oh,
These were the two former Evolution teammates, and they went up against one another in a brutal and bloody match. And this was one of the first times I saw Batista wrestle.
right. Yeah.
I was telling you this off air. I was not
Mhm.
watching at the time.
Sure.
I never got the big appeal of Batista, who he was, what he was doing. I know he was really like new, fresh,
Sure.
green to wrestling. He didn't come
Mhm.
from a wrestling background, but he rose the ranks and became one of the most iconic wrestlers ever. And
Right.
this match, I think, really put him on the map with Triple H. I mean, who better than Triple H to do a Hell in a Cell with?
Yeah, and putting him with Evolution was like a big deal too. That was it was like him and Randy Orton basically got knighted because it was him, Randy Orton, and Ric Flair and Triple H. So like
Okay.
it was the whole thing was like, oh, you're seeing, where wrestling, like how it evolves and where it comes from. It was, I remember that group was great. And the breakups were just as good too, because we would like it was. I remember they kind of like they kick Randy Orton out of the group, if I remember correctly, when he wins the belts. And then with Batista, he kind of removes himself. I think he was offered. I think he wins the Royal Rumble. If I remember correctly, he eliminates Undertaker, which infuriated me at the time. And then he decides he basically gets a choice of who he wants to challenge for the belt, and he chooses Triple H and like removes himself
Okay.
from the So it's a whole. So they were going at it for a while, and then 14 years later, I believe 2019, Batista would wrestle his final match against Triple H.
Wow.
That was it. That was it for him. Yeah.
That's
He'd
amazing,
retire
man.
after that.
That's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
It was so cool to see Ric Flair with Triple H during this match because
Sure.
again, you were just seeing this rivalry between a faction, and like
Yeah.
those are some of the best matches ever when factions
Right.
break up. And this was one of those, and this would be a huge win for Batista actually.
Mm-hmm.
Let me see. Put his protege over clean. Yep. Yeah. Batista ended up winning this match, and the crowd was going crazy. There were
That's
sledgehammers,
awesome.
there were stiff punches. Like they were not
Mm-hmm.
holding back on one another. It seemed like this was really the evolution coming to an end with this
Yeah.
match. So
Cool. Oh,
it was awesome. I loved it.
yeah, that sounds rad.
I
Yeah.
want to go watch more Batista matches now.
They're great. Definitely check out some Batista Randy Orton stuff too, and Batista John Cena. Like it was stuff where at the time I think I wasn't as interested. Ooh, Batista Rey Mysterio too. They had a great feud. Batista was also, I believe, the last. Well, him and Eddie Guerrero had become like they were like loose allies, if I remember correctly, and he was the last. They were, I think, still working together when Guerrero passed. But yeah, Batista did it. He did a lot of work, and the same comedic chops are there. Like you can see who he is pretty fully. And look, do yourself a favor, go watch a Deacon Batista match, just because.
Okay.
When he first got into WWE, he was working with Devon Dudley, Reverend Devon.
Testify.
Yeah, who had Deacon Batista with him as his enforcer, and it's real fun, silly stuff. Really silly.
Spit out my.
And if I remember correctly, Batista's teeth were filed. They're like filed. No, he's or he's got fangs.
What? Did he ever resolve that? Or
I don't know, man. No, he's a deacon. I don't know. What else do you need? What else? I don't know. What do you want?
Yeah, because if there's anything I know about deacons, it's that they have filed down vampire teeth. That's
part of the vows. Part
interesting.
Of the vows.
Yeah, I thought so. I thought so. That's why I got out of the seminary, man. I just was not willing, to file my teeth down.
Oh man!
Oh wow!
But those
man,
are Hell in a Cell matches. Yeah,
yeah.
A nice little short, tight episode today.
Yeah,
and part of that is scheduling a dance class, and our episode next week might be a little bit longer. So because we're going to be talking about a movie. Yeah.
It's going to be fun. Yeah.
Yeah.
But to sort of wrap this one up, buddy, I want to know from you, and I know we'll do a prediction episode for Bad Blood, but
yes.
This CM Punk McIntyre thing, do you have any early thoughts on how this is going to go, or should we save that?
No, I think I am honestly kind of right on the middle for right now.
Okay.
And maybe that'll change once we get closer, but McIntyre doesn't need to get put over more than he's already put over. If I had to guess, like Punk is going to win, but I wouldn't be too surprised if we see it end with some kind of like mutual respect kind of thing. I think the playing up the whole CM Punk as a locker room cancer and there's this and that time has kind of passed.
Yep.
That gimmick's gotten kind of old. And I think if anything, we need to we'll probably see Punk and McIntyre kind of bury the hatchet, as it were, after this match. I don't think it's going to be this is my last match. Who cares? And all this. Like, I think they're going to beat the hell out of each other.
Oh, yeah.
But I do think it's going to end with more of a positioning them to both kind of exist. Because Punk is also he's on Instagram, trading all the young wrestlers, and he's on NXT being like a dad. Like, it's just, I think it was good to start, and now he's been there for almost a year at this point. So we're coming up on a year of CM Punk back in WWE. We don't need to pretend like they don't want him there anymore.
Exactly. I will say he gave one of the best promos of his career last Monday on Raw, and then McIntyre's response on Twitter, this is the CM Punk I've been waiting for. That got me really excited, and I think you're right. I'm gonna stay in the middle right now and say this will be sort of not a draw. I think someone will win, but I think it's gonna end with a mutual respect and moving on. Move on, please, from this. We love it.
It's about time. Yeah,
but it's time. It's like Breaking Bad. Know when to end these things, please. So,
are you implying that Breaking Bad did or didn't know when to end?
Did Did.
Oh, okay.
I say this because we just finished watching the series again.
Nice. There you go.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. Are you gonna do Better Call Saul?
Yes, absolutely.
Nice.
Yeah, that's
Nice.
next on the docket for sure. But
Okay.
I can't do that yet, Andrew, because I'm leaving for Canada this week to film Haunted. So everybody go over to YouTube and type in Eastlink Haunted, and you can watch the first 4 seasons of the show. I don't show up until season 12, but go watch seasons 1 through 4.
Hey, whatever.
Right now.
Do they have a page? Maybe throw that in the old show notes.
Oh yeah, I'll put everything in the show notes, and then Somewhere in the Skies, my UFO show, will continue as always. While I'm hunting ghosts, I will also be talking UFOs every Monday. Somewhereintheskies.com. But what you got coming up, buddy? Before we
I don't know why.
terrified.
Main thing next month, I believe October 25th. A few years ago, I wrote a Shakespeare version of Halloween for my good friends at the Rat Theater, Random Access Theater. Good Lord, I'm tired. Random Access Theater. They own the Rat NYC in Dumbo. We're going to be doing a live drunk text. I think it's 7 p.m. October 25th. That's going to be a really good show. We've only gotten to do it once, I think, so it should be a good time. And that's pretty much it. As always, watch Pay the Tithe on Vimeo. Some more stuff coming out in October, but I don't want to say it just yet. But and then watch. Oh, geez, jeepers! I have the title written somewhere. We should tell them what movie.
Oh,
what
we're going to be? Yes,
week.
Yes, we're going to be doing a movie
already.
Yeah, like you mentioned.
Xanto and
Blue.
The Monsters. Oh yeah, Xanto and Blue. Santo and Blue Demon versus the Monsters. Maybe we can even put there's a link with English subtitles. Or if people want the dub, I get it. But find it. It's on YouTube. It's a fun horror luchador movie. It'll be in the show notes. We're going to be talking about it with a gentleman named Hoff Matthews. I think I can say that now because I want people to look Hoff up because he's funny. He's awesome. Hilarious. He's very nice. And he'll be joining us to talk about that very silly, spooky movie.
Yeah, we're getting spooky, guys. It's the season, so be sure to watch all these Hell in a Cell matches. I couldn't think of a better time to watch them.
I also part of me, because I don't want to. I have a couple more ideas of things that we could watch.
What have you started?
My other idea is. Well, I kind of want to do the See No Evil, Hear No, or See No Evil, the Glenn Jacobs movie, the Kane movie, because I've never seen it. I'm sure it's terrible, but I also hate him. Like, I hate him so much, and I don't want to risk us bringing more attention to his nonsense. So I think, if anything, what I might throw at you that we should watch is The Leprechaun. WWE did a gritty, grounded version of The Leprechaun, which I have seen before. And I think I'm just going to say it right now. We're going to do an episode about that.
Done. Doesn't that feature or star a former WWE wressler?
It sure says that it does.
Okay.
But I can tell you right now that if I were him, I would have been pretty pissed off about what ends up in the movie and what doesn't.
Okay. We're doing it, man.
It is. When I tell you grim and grit, we'll get into it. It is not the Leprechaun that you are used to. That is all I'm going to say.
Okay.
Yeah.
Even though I'm excited.
It's very, we'll get into it. We'll talk about it. But Brian, I love you so much. Happy
you just call me Brian?
No, I said Ryan.
Oh, you said Ryan. It sounded like Brian.
But Ryan, yeah. But Ryan. I love you, pal. Happy Monday. Ring the bell. Ring the bell. Get us out.
Okay.
Here. Oh wait, go to somewhere in the ring. Patreon.com/somewhere in the ring on socials. All the stuff's in the show notes. Look in the show notes. Get us out of here, Ryan.
Subscribe. Do all that. I smell that sulfur again. What is going on?
That's bad.
I'm burning.
This has been Somewhere in the Ring. Thank you for listening. Subscribe wherever you get your pods, and be sure to rate and review on Apple, Spotify, or wherever possible. We'll see you again soon, somewhere in the ring.